Haha, here we are again, part 4 of Adventures in Adventuring. Okay, so uh, the party has just inherited the kingdom of Themestriel. Ariante is now the new king, and they're working on building the kingdom, hiring blacksmiths and market workers and all sorts of people. And as the party begins working towards retaining services for the city of Themestriel, a gnome named Bucklesnart arrives in a giant blimp. He asks for a meeting with Ariante, and he says that he was a friend to Ariante's father, and that he needs help rescuing the Guardians of Time. The Guardians have been taken captive by the Frost Giants far to the north, and they're being forced to mine diamonds for them. At this point, Abaddon has just gotten through a trial of being the avatar of Ares. He's a little shaken by it. He has taken a sabbatical, and he is spending a lot of time off who knows where in prayer and meditation and trying to figure out his place in the universe. So he's gone, but the rest of the party's there, and they agree to help Bucklesnart, and they get on his blimp, and he pulls a lever, and flames shoot out the back of it, and it rockets across the sky, and far, far to the north they travel across the ocean and way far from where they were, and they arrive on the ice plains. And as they land in the ice plains, there's a plain of just pure ice and snow, but about a mile away they can see a set of cliffs, and the cliffs reach up way up into the sky, at least a mile high. And they can see that there's a crevice, a crack in this ice wall. And Bucklesnart said that is the pass, and that the Crystal Castle is through that pass. So the party attempts to cross the ice fields. They don't get very far before they awaken an ice worm, and the ice worm shoots up out of the plains, and it's huge. These guys are little tiny compared to this thing, and it breathes this like lava like spit on them, and that it's what it uses to tunnel through the ice, but it also uses it as a weapon. There's not a lot of food out here, and it'll take what it can get. So it sets this trap, and it shoots up, and it gets them, and they get pretty beaten. It takes them down to just their last little bit of life before they finally are able to defeat the worm, and they end up having to go back to camp. They spend about a week there healing up. So after a long rest, Sombria has discovered that she can tell where the ice has been changed a little bit, where the worms were under it. So she's able to lead them through this maze of ice worms so that they don't wake any more up, and they make their way to the crevice. So they get to the crevice, and they're walking down it pretty carelessly. And they end up walking into these mounds of what they think is snow, but it's actually yetis that are hidden down in the snow, and they're laying down there. And the yetis come up, and one of them grabs Sombria and hurls her at the cliff, at the side of the crevice at the wall. And Sombria grabs onto it like a cat, like sticks onto it, and she's out of their reach. They can't get her. The rest of the party decides to hide. So Gerald dives into the snow, and he's hidden really good. And Ariante goes to hide and stinks at it. Just puts some snow on his head and just sits there and just like, I'm hiding. I'm just hiding here. I'm just a big snowball. And actually dives into a snowbank and disappears. So the Yetis are grabbing snowballs and they're throwing them at Sombria, trying to knock her off the wall. And one of them reaches down and grabs what he thinks is a snowball at first, but then he grabs Ariante by the head and chucks him up against the wall and smashes against the wall. Falls down. So Ariante got tossed into the wall, and as she falls down, the Yetis take her and they shake their fists at Sombria, and they take Ariante and they take her away. Sombria notices at this time that there's an owl just sitting on a cliff on the other side, just watching him, and seems to be watching intelligently, very intently on them. So the Yeti take Ariante away, and the rest of the party follow and see that at the end of the crevice there's this large mining pit of ice. But inside the ice they can see these sparkling diamonds all throughout the ice. And at the bottom of the pit are these prison cells that have icicle bars to keep the prisoners in them. And they can see gnomes inside of them. Ariante is actually being held prisoner inside one of these cells down there. Now, across the pit, on the far side, a crystal castle rises up out of the ground, and it's sparkling and shiny, and right in front of the door lies a young white dragon. So, and there's several ice giants patrolling around the top of the pit. So they decide, I'm not going to go down there right just yet. So night goes by as the party attempts to hash out a rescue plan for Ariante, and they do notice that this owl is still watching them throughout the night. So they can't quite think of a good plan as to how to get Ariante out of there. Either they're going to make the dragon notice them, or the giants are going to notice them, or the Yetis that are walking around here are going to catch them. So they can't quite figure it out, and morning comes, and as the sun rises, the giants, an alarm goes out through the giant camp, and the giants run out, and one of them shouts, "Time has gotten away from us!" And so they're obviously looking for something, and as they're checking out the pit, and they keep watching the skies, and Ariante hears one of them say something about time flies, and he calls to their leader, and the leader comes over and he says, I can help you. I have a party that can help you find time. He realizes that time is something or someone. And so the ice giant leader says, "Okay, well, I'll let you go to find them. And if you can find time for us, we'll set you free. But we're gonna send Spot with you. We're gonna send this dragon with them." So the party comes out and says, "Here we are. We're gonna help Ariante." And so the giants put them in buckets and lift them to the top of the cliffs that are just above the castle. And the party's lifted in buckets above the castle, where they come to a forest that's made out of what appear to be trees that are made of ice. Drifts of snow pass between the trees, and deep in the forest, wisps of snow form into corporeal creatures, and the party are attacked by ice wraiths. As the battle rages, an owl flies overhead, just as Sombria completely misfires. The arrow meant for a wraith flies wild and strikes the owl out of the air. As it hits the owl, time freezes for everything but the party. Snow is frozen in the air. The dragon is ready to fight, and he's frozen. The wraiths are frozen. One of them just almost has Ariante by the throat. So Sombria goes over and picks up the owl, who's barely alive, and its blood is pouring across this arrow. And she pulls the arrow from it, and time is still frozen, and the owl is about to die. And the party realizes that time is this owl. So they finish off the wraiths who are frozen in time, and they leave the dragon alone, just frozen there. And they get back to the castle, and they see that everything is frozen. So they can see they go into the castle, and they see in the throne room that there's a large bird cage positioned directly over the throne, and there's diamonds inside the food bowl. And they realize that this Ariante deduces that the crystals might be able to heal the owl. Before they heal time, though, they set up all these traps by spilling boulders over the tops of the giants or tipping them so they're just over the edge of the cliff, just barely hanging on by 1 foot. Particularly cruel trap that they do on the giant leader is they they move an anvil. Things don't weigh anything when time's frozen, so they move this anvil right over the giant's crotch, and then way up high they put a giant boulder. So they heal time, and time starts back up, and chaos ensues. They hear giants falling and things crashing, and the anvil falls in this giant's lap, and then he gets smashed in the head, and kill all the giants. They free the gnomes, and time takes a liking to Sombria, and the gnomes decide to vote to make her their queen. So Sombria becomes the queen of the ice gnomes, and time goes back in its cage, and she's got to be the keeper of time. The Yeti also swear allegiance to her as guardians of the ice plane. She's given a rod of time, which causes haste for 3 rounds, 3 times a day, or if it's fully charged, she can cause time to freeze for 30 seconds, 1 time a day, but the rod has to be fully charged. She also kept the arrow that was soaked in the blood of the owl. That's the arrow of time, and she doesn't know what it can do, but she knows that it's probably a pretty powerful artifact. And then at this time, Sombria also befriended a winter wolf as her companion. They discovered a portal behind the throne, which was activated, and it is a portal between the ice plains and Themestria. So they found a quick way back and forth between the ice plains and Themestria without having to use the rocket blimp. So on returning to Themestria, Ariante was informed of 2 things. 1, Gerald had received a deed from Fort Kingshar, which was only to be granted to him on the death of the guild leader. The second was that Orissa's son, Hordsbeard, was reportedly taken by pirates from Brigatshire. Abaddon also returned at this time from his sabbatical, claiming that he had found the Valley of Order, the testing ground from which he could undergo the trials of the Paladin. And we will decide which quest the party decided to take on our next episode. Thank you. We'll see you next time.